It's been a good few months, about 4 to be exact, since my Alfa Romeo project, a 1967 1600 Duetto Spider, appeared on the channel, and quite a lot has changed since then. I've taken some strong leaps forward, but also some disappointing steps back. And the most obvious and biggest one of those steps back is that the engine is no longer in the car. In the last video about this car, I had just wrapped up chasing some oil leaks at the back of the engine block. Once those leaks were fixed up, I thought I would be uploading a video about starting the engine for the first time in 30 years. And I started filming that episode. I installed the new 123 ignition distributor, I fitted the restored Weber carburetors, which is no easy job on an Alfa 105, especially a right-hand drive model, installed the radiator and hoses, topped up the tank with fuel, and I was ready to turn the key. After fiddling around with some fuel lines that I had plumbed in backwards, the car coughed a couple of times and fired up. It was the first time I'd ever heard this engine run, and I didn't like what I heard. There was a distinct metal on metal knocking sound, almost like a valve shim had fallen out or a big end bearing was going. I checked the valve clearances again, and they were all perfect, which meant that whatever was wrong much deeper in the engine, and wouldn't be an easy fix. I left the car alone over Christmas and New Year's and returned to the project with fresh eyes in January. No matter which way I looked at it, I knew that the engine would have to come out again. So I set up a fresh workbench and started stripping the engine bay and the underside of the car. From the top of the car, I removed the radiator and the fan shroud, the air filter and intake plenum, the fuel pressure regulator, the alternator, and undid as many bolts as I could reach. From the underside, I first removed the exhaust, then the prop shaft, and somehow managed to remove the starter motor as well as the clutch linkage. Then I removed the last of the bolts holding the engine and transmission together, and dropped the transmission with the jack. I didn't strap it down properly, so I came very close to dropping it when it finally came loose. With the transmission out of the car, the engine came out very easily. It was a shame to be removing such a freshly built engine, but if it's not right, it's not right. With the engine and transmission out of the car, I decided to focus on a job that I've been putting off forever, which was putting the new soft top onto its frame. I had partially restored the frame back in 2018. Some of the cast aluminium was cracked, but I had it all repaired, but I hadn't quite finished the job yet. And the larger clip that held the back of the soft top on got stolen off the back of my pickup truck back in October, so I had to fabricate a new one, and just that job alone took me about a week. The Series 1 Spiders, the ones from 1966 to 1969, have a very fiddly soft top and frame. It's a combination of cast aluminium parts and steel parts. The aluminium makes up the cantrail and the B-pillar folding structure, with the steel parts for bracing and moving the mechanism, as well as for the 3 bows running between the 2 sides of the car. The front header rail is a pressed steel part too. I had all this together to see how it worked, but it had a crazy amount of slack between where all the parts bolt together. This was because it was missing the bushes that fit around the studs. I imagine they just disintegrated over time. So I had a new set of bushings made up out of machinable plastic. There are about 12 different points on the frame that require a bush. Essentially, wherever one part of the folding section of the frame is joined to another, there's a bush. I pressed the bushes on using some rubber grease and a socket, tapping them on with a small hammer as I went. On top of every bush, I added a copper washer, and then the special domed nut with some blue thread locker. I hoped that this way the mechanism would move freely, but all the rotation wouldn't cause the nut to come loose or tighten up over time. Installing the various parts of the frame is pretty simple, but getting them adjusted correctly is far from it. There are so many points of adjustment built into the frame. The B-pillar can be moved backwards and forwards, up and down, and tilted forwards and backwards. The cantrail is also adjustable, with a mechanism on top determining the angle of the two folding parts of the rail. I tried to get them as close as parallel as I could manage. Once I was happy with the movement and the rough adjustment of the frame, it can always be adjusted later, even with a new soft top installed, I started fitting the new top. I installed the 3 bows first, and then pulled the top over them. Then I glued the top into the header rail, which is the part that clips into the top of the windshield, and that large rear clip that attaches to the body. Getting the rear clip to bolt down is a real challenge. With the rear compartment cover and the soft top being glued into it, it's not easy to get it to line up with the bolt holes in the body. I spent hours struggling and shifting it around until all the bolts were installed. I pressed the clip into the body as hard as I could while tightening the bolts, hoping that would give the top good tension. Once the top was securely attached to the back of the cabin, I installed the header rail on the folding section of the frame and bolted it in. I pulled the top shut while positioning the bows, which were still loose at this point, and to my surprise, it all just seemed to fall into place. I spent a little bit of time gluing the bows in, and installing the rubber seals which hold the top in place along the B-pillar. And once that was done, the new top looked pretty good. I've never done this kind of job before, but I was really surprised at how easy it was to get this kit to fit well. This kit came from Classic Alfa, and I'd definitely recommend it. Overall, I think the new soft top fits the car well, and it has a factory look about it. The rear screen is super clear, and once it's been up for a few minutes, it's very smooth and wrinkle-free. This whole soft top is not the easiest to operate. It takes some time to put it down. You have to unstick the Velcro on either side, and I hope that over time it will get a little smoother. It's all still a bit tight. Putting it up takes a little bit of effort. Closing and opening the latches isn't that easy at the moment. You have to be a bit forceful, but I hope that will loosen up over time. Raising the top is smooth even if it feels a bit heavy, but I don't think it's too heavy. I understand why Alfa made so many changes to the soft top for the Series 2 Spider. I think this design is quite fiddly. But overall I'm very happy with how it looks, and suddenly the car feels like it's coming together, like there's some hope that this project will be completed after all this time. I also installed the boot springs. They don't work very well, so I'll have to figure that one out. Right, so all of that pretty much brings me up to speed on where the Duetto project is now. I have to admit that even though the engine and transmission are out and both are in bits, just the fact that now the soft top and the hard top are back on the car really has taken a lot of weight off of my shoulders for this project, because those were 2 things that I was really nervous about getting right, because I've never done that before. In the time since I pulled that engine out of the car earlier in this video, I've done quite a lot of work on it, and it's getting pretty close to going back together, and the same with the transmission. So I think we're on the right track to get things done. And of course, over the next few weeks, myself, just like everyone else around the world, seems to have a lot of free time. And so no excuses but to work on cars and make videos during this whole shutdown. So I hope you guys like this little update. I hope it answered some of your questions about the Spider. And yeah, I'm going to be using this downtime to make plenty of videos. So I hope you guys like this update, and I hope you like the videos that are coming up over the next few weeks. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.